I received the divorce papers by email, while still deployed in the desert. 13 years of marriage ended in a PDF attachment. My name is Nathan. I'm 42. A staff sergeant with the 82nd Airborne. I'd been stationed in Kandahar for 4 months when Becky decided she was done waiting. The subject line of the email read, "Let's be adults about this." The message itself was only 3 sentences long. She'd already filed the paperwork. She'd already emptied our joint bank account. She'd already moved her new boyfriend Jeremy into our house in Spokane. I read the email twice. Then I closed my laptop, took a shower in the communal stall, got dressed for my shift and said nothing to anyone. That night, back at my bunk, I replied with one word, "Understood." That was it. No argument. No begging. No threats. Wilson, my bunkmate, noticed something was off. "You good, man?" he asked, not looking up from his book. "Yeah," I said. "Just some stuff back home." He nodded, and that was the end of it. Military guys know when to leave things alone. The truth is, I wasn't surprised. 6 months before deployment, things had started to shift. Little things. Becky stopped asking about my day. Started working late at the dental office where she answered phones. Started going to the gym 3 times a week, but never looked like she actually worked out. New clothes. New friends I never met. New passwords on her phone. I didn't confront her. Didn't start snooping through messages or following her around. That's not who I am. But I'm not blind either. So I made quiet moves of my own. Nothing dramatic. Just precautions. I rented a storage unit across town and placed key documents there. Birth certificate, marriage license, house deed, with only my name on it, thanks to the VA loan. Military benefits paperwork. My grandfather's watch. My mother's old silver. Things that mattered. I also opened a separate bank account and began funneling a portion of my pay into it. Not enough for Becky to notice. Just enough so that if things went south I wouldn't be starting from zero. The night before deployment, she hugged me at the airport and said, "Stay safe, okay?" Her eyes were dry, like she was saying goodbye to a coworker, not a husband going off to war. I should have known then. Part of me did. But part of me still hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. What Becky didn't know was that I had prepared for this. And what she didn't understand was that I never start fights, but I always finish them. Only when I hung up from that call did I know exactly what needed to be done. No yelling. No threats. No confrontation. Just patience. Observation. And letting her own actions set the trap. 2 months later, I was back on American soil. I didn't tell Becky I was home. Didn't call. Didn't text. I checked into a motel in downtown Spokane under a different name and reached out to James. We met at a diner 10 miles out of town. "You look like hell," he said, sliding into the booth. "Feel like it too," I replied. He handed me a folder. Everything we discussed. House deed, loan documents, bank statements. And this. He slid a separate paper across the table. "Found something interesting digging into your finances." It was a refinance application, with my signature. Only, it wasn't mine. Someone had tried to mimic it, but missed the details. Wrong middle initial. Stroke pattern was off. "Becky did this?" I asked, even though I already knew. James nodded. 3 months ago. She used the equity to pull out $330,000. Your signature is required for that, since the VA loan is in your name only. So she forged my signature, took out a loan against the house, emptied our accounts, and divorced me, I said. Busy woman. "It gets better," James said. "She listed her boyfriend as a co-applicant." I stared at him. "Jeremy? He's got a record. 2 DUIs and a fraud charge from 2019. I took a deep breath. "What are my options?" "Several," James said. "But first you have to decide what you want." I thought for a long moment. I want what's legally mine. And I want her to understand what consequences look like. James smiled. "Then here's what we do." The next day, I drove past our house. Her boyfriend's truck was gone, but Becky's car sat in the driveway. I parked down the street and watched. Thought about walking up, ringing the doorbell, letting her see me. But that wasn't the plan. Instead, I drove to the bank. Met with the loan officer who processed the refinance. I showed him my military ID. My driver's license with my real signature. And the forged documents. His face turned pale. "I'll need to report this immediately." "I understand," I said. "Already filed a police report." That night, Becky texted me. Who have you been talking to at the bank? Jeremy said someone was asking questions. I didn't reply. The next morning, I went to the county clerk's office. Filed a formal challenge to the refinance based on fraud. Registered a legal notice that no changes to the property could be made without my signature. 2 days later, Becky called. I let it go to voicemail. Nathan, we need to talk. The bank called about the house. What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can discuss it like adults. Like adults? Same words she used in her email. Still, I didn't respond. That afternoon, James called. They froze the refinance funds. And there's more. What now? Your wife's boyfriend, he's been driving your truck, right? The one still titled in your name? Yeah. He got pulled over this morning, driving on a suspended license. From those DUIs. The truck's been impounded. Good. Also, the police found something interesting in the vehicle. Prescription pads from Becky's dental office. Not blank. I closed my eyes. She's been stealing prescription pads? Looks that way. Police are investigating. I hung up and sat on the edge of the motel bed. This was getting bigger than I expected. Part of me wanted to call Becky. Warn her. Old habits. But then I remembered the security footage. Of my house. My dog. My life, handed over like it meant nothing. No. This was the path now. I couldn't turn back. And honestly, I didn't want to. The next morning, I met with the bank's fraud investigator. Name was Thompson. Short guy. Tired eyes. Coffee stain on his tie. This happens more often than you'd think, he said, spreading documents across his desk. Spouse gets deployed. Other spouse sees an opportunity. What happens now? We've frozen the remaining funds from the fraudulent loan. But some of the money's already gone. How much? About half. $14,600. I leaned forward. Where did it go? He hesitated. I'm not supposed to share that. It's my house. My name. My forged signature. My money. Thompson sighed, then turned his screen toward me. These are the transfers out of the refinance account. I scanned the list. Multiple payments made to someone named Daniel Spencer. Not Jeremy. Someone new. Who's Daniel Spencer? I asked. Not my department. But your lawyer can subpoena more details. I called James the second I left the bank. Daniel Spencer? He repeated. Let me run a check. An hour later he called back. Got him. Real estate agent. Quick sales, cash deals. She was planning to sell our house, I said. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Looks that way, James said. The deposits were probably earnest money for a listing. But here's where it gets interesting. Spencer's done business with Jeremy Ryan before. Jeremy? Becky's boyfriend? Same guy. They've closed 3 deals together in the past 2 years. I sat down on a park bench trying to make sense of it. So this wasn't just Becky leaving me for some loser. This was, what? A scheme? Maybe, James said cautiously. I looked deeper into Jeremy Ryan. He's got a pattern, gets involved with women going through divorce or with deployed spouses. I found 3 similar cases. What happened in those? The women's homes got sold below market. Spencer's clients bought them. Jeremy got a cut. Then he moved on. And Becky? Hard to say. Maybe she's just another victim. Or maybe she's in on it. I rubbed my face. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a setup. A pattern. And I wasn't the only one. What do we do? I asked. James's voice hardened. I've already contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. This crosses state lines. Involves military personnel. VA loans. Fraud. That night, I sat in my motel room with a beer, staring into nothing, thinking about everything. I kept wondering, had Becky been playing me our entire marriage? Or had she just gotten swept up in Jeremy's scheme? And in the end, did it even matter? My phone buzzed again. Becky. Nathan, please call me. The bank is saying something about fraud and Jeremy got arrested driving your truck. I don't understand what's happening. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. Who is Daniel Spencer? 3 dots appeared. She was typing. Then she stopped. Started again. Stopped. Finally she sent. I don't know what you're talking about. I replied, $14,600. Multiple transfers. House listing. No response for 10 minutes. Then, it's not what you think. I turned off my phone and went to bed. The next morning James called. FBI wants to meet, he said. They've been investigating Ryan and Spencer for months. You're not the first, but you might be the one who breaks the whole thing open. For the first time since that divorce email from Kandahar, I felt something like satisfaction. Not because my marriage had ended, but because the truth was finally coming to light. I met with the FBI at their Spokane field office. Agents Patel and Donovan. They recorded my statement and took copies of all the documents James and I had collected. Your case helps establish a pattern, Agent Patel explained. Shows intent. Organization. This becomes a conspiracy, not just isolated fraud. What about Becky? I asked. My ex-wife. The agents exchanged a glance. We're still determining her level of involvement, Donovan said carefully. Did she ever mention financial difficulties? Pressure to sell the house. I thought back. She kept saying we were house poor, that we should downsize. I didn't see the need. Our mortgage was manageable on my salary. Patel made a note. When did that start? About 6 months ago, probably when she met Jeremy. And the refinance? Donovan asked. Never discussed it with me. She forged my signature while I was deployed. They asked more questions, took more notes. When we finished, Patel handed me her card. We'll be in touch. In the meantime, don't confront your wife or Ryan. We need to build this case carefully. I nodded. Understood. That evening, I drove back to the neighborhood. Parked a few houses away. Jeremy's truck was back. Guess he got it out of impound. Becky's car was gone. My phone buzzed. Text from Becky, we need to talk. In person. Meet me at Riverfront Park tomorrow. Over breakfast, I showed James the message. Don't go, he warned. Nothing good can come from talking to her right now. I won't, I said. But I want to know what she's really doing. At 9:30 a.m. the next day, we parked across from the house. At 9:45, Becky left, heading toward Riverfront Park. Now what? James asked. Now we wait. 20 minutes later, a car pulled up. Real estate logo on the door. Daniel Spencer. Jeremy came out to greet him. They talked in the driveway, then went inside. Should we follow them? James asked. I shook my head. No need. I installed security cameras last year, inside and out. They upload everything to the cloud. James smiled. You didn't mention that before. Never came up, I said, pulling out my phone. I opened the security app and angled the screen so he could see. Spencer and Jeremy were in our living room. Spencer was taking photos. Jeremy was pointing at features of the house. I turned up the volume. Should list by the end of the week, Spencer was saying. I've already got a cash buyer interested. How much? Jeremy asked. We list at $470. They offer $420. Everybody's happy. What about the husband? Becky says he's causing trouble. Spencer waved it off. Military guys are all the same. They make noise, but they've got deployments, responsibilities. He'll take a settlement to make it go away. I turned to James. You getting this? He was already recording the feed on his phone. I forwarded access to the security footage to Agent Patel with a single message. Happening now. 30 minutes later, the house was surrounded by FBI vehicles. From down the street, I watched as agents led Spencer and Jeremy out in handcuffs. My phone rang. We got them on tape discussing the fraud scheme, Agent Patel said. Plus conspiracy, wire fraud, and attempting to sell property under false pretenses. We'll need a formal statement from you. Of course, I said. And Mr. Briggs, your wife just arrived on the scene. She's distressed. I looked down the street. Becky was standing on our lawn, hands over her mouth, watching as agents carried boxes of documents from the house. What happens to her? I asked. That depends, Patel said. On what she knew and on what you want. I watched Becky for a long moment. 13 years of marriage. Good years at the start. Before everything changed. I just want what's right, I said at last. The federal case moved quickly. Jeremy and Spencer both took plea deals, implicating each other and several others in a 3-state operation targeting military families. Becky maintained she knew nothing about the larger scheme. Claimed Jeremy convinced her I was hiding money, planning to leave her with nothing. Claimed the refinance was his idea. That she just went along with it. Maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, she agreed to a settlement. Full restitution of the stolen funds, forfeiture of any claim to the house or my military pension, and a signed confession about the forgery. In exchange, I didn't press charges. The divorce was finalized 6 months after that email from Kandahar. No fault. Clean break. All things considered. On the day the last papers were signed, Agent Patel called. Jeremy Ryan was sentenced today, 8 years for fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft. Spencer got 12. Thought you'd want to know. Thank you, I said. There's something else, she added. We found evidence they targeted 11 other military families. Your case helped build the pattern. Those families might get their money back, because of you. After we hung up, I sat on the porch of my rental watching the sunset, thinking about all those other men. Deployed overseas, believing their homes and marriages were safe, only to come back to betrayal and emptiness. I hadn't planned on taking down Jeremy and Spencer. I just wanted what was mine. But sometimes things work out differently. My phone buzzed. Text from Becky, I never meant for things to end this way. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. A year later I sold the house. Couldn't live in it anymore. Too many memories, too much betrayal. I used the money to buy a small cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 2 bedrooms. 10 acres. A creek out back. No neighbors for miles. I took early retirement from the army. 20 years was enough. I'd given enough. I got a dog, a German Shepherd named Scout. Started doing carpentry for locals. Nothing fancy, but it kept my hands busy. Paid the bills. My pension covered the rest. Sometimes I thought about Becky. Wondered where she ended up. James heard she'd moved back to Oregon. Working at another dental office. Starting over, I guess. I didn't hate her anymore. Didn't really feel anything, to be honest. She made her choices. So did I. One evening I got a letter. From a woman in Fort Worth. Her husband was in the Navy, deployed when Jeremy and Spencer tried to run their scheme on her. You don't know me, she wrote, but you saved our home. Thank you. We're fighting. Back when it would have been easier to just walk away. I read it twice, then pinned it to my refrigerator. Some days, when the silence got too loud or the memories cut too deep, I'd look at that letter and remind myself that something good had come from all of it. Last I heard, Jeremy was still in prison. Spencer too. The system worked, for once. As for me, I was finding my way forward. One quiet day at a time. Building something new. Something that couldn't be stolen or forged or betrayed. Something that was just mine.